chassis, but with a new case. That's not an option. So make sure you pick up one of these brackets. It's the only way you'll be able to secure the cooler properly. Another really important piece you'll need is a 24-pin to 8-pin power adapter. Without it, you won't be able to deliver power to the motherboard. The good news is these adapters are easy to find. You can grab one on eBay or pretty much any online marketplace. To make this thing actually game-ready, I'm dropping in a GTX 964GB. I think this card will really let the CPU stretch its legs and give us a much smoother experience. I decided to swap it out for an Intel Xeon E31241V3, and that single upgrade completely transformed the experience. With 4 cores and 8 threads, plus a much higher clock speed, the Xeon brings this machine to an entirely new level. Suddenly, games feel smoother, multitasking isn't a nightmare, and the system finally has enough horsepower to keep up with the GTX 960. This was the core change that turned our $50 office PC into something that actually feels like a legit budget gaming rig. Give me a minute while I get all these parts installed. And after a bit of tinkering around, the build is finally complete. Now it's time to enjoy the payoff. But before we dive into performance testing, let's take a quick look at the finished build from the outside, because honestly, it looks way better than where we started. Man, after the upgrade, this thing feels like a totally different machine. The graphics card is chilling at about 85% load and 65 degrees Celsius, which is basically saying, I'm good, throw me whatever you want. The CPU though? That dude is absolutely sweating. 99% usage and running hot enough to fry an egg. The stock cooler just can't hang. It's like trying to cool down a race car with a desk fan. If we want this thing to last more than a few months, a better cooler is a must. Now let's talk gameplay. Before, we were crawling along at 20 to 30 frames per second, and every time a fight broke out or you jumped from the bus, the frames dipped so low you could practically count them by hand. It felt more like a slideshow than Fortnite. Now, we're cruising at a steady 80 to 90 frames per second, just running around. And even when things get hectic, skydiving or a full-on build battle, the worst dips are still around 50 to 60 FPS. That's not just playable, that's actually smooth enough to be competitive. So yeah, it's still running a little hot under the hood, but the difference is insane. From barely holding on for dear life to actually fun to play. Honestly, it's kinda wild what a few smart upgrades can do to an old office box. So after all the upgrades, this PC feels at least 10 times stronger than where we started. The performance boost is insane, and it completely changes the way games run on this setup. That said, if I really want this machine to stay stable and last longer, the next two things on the list are definitely RAM and a proper cooler. More memory will keep things smoother, and better cooling will stop the CPU from cooking itself every time we game. Also, this is my very first video, so if I made any mistakes along the way, I'd love to hear